This project is a green bull that really didn't come out very well. I wasn't able to save it, but I think there's some great lessons here too. So let's pick it up after I've cut it with the bandsaw, actually cut it from the tree and then cut it with the bandsaw and roughed it out on the lathe. I like to continually adjust the tool rest so I have support as close to the piece that's being turned as possible. I also like this curved tool rest very much. It's basically a French curve. It has a long curve and a short curve, and lets me work both the outside of the bull and the inside of the bull. It's pretty heavy duty, and I just think it works great. When I am turning a bull, I, whenever possible, will have my direction go from the small diameter to the large diameter, or you can think of it as cutting uphill. If you think about the way that the grain of a bull runs, that is going to lessen the chance of a major tear out if you're going uphill. And sometimes you may have to violate that rule for design purpose, but any time possible I will do that. The Power Pro headstock is such a delight to work with. It allows me to feel much more confident and comfortable in my turning. If I happen to get a catch, which I will do from time to time, I get the angle of the chisel wrong. What will happen is the Power Pro headstock will momentarily cut out the power going out there to the turning. So it reduces the chance of a major tear out considerably. Now here I'm just using the bull turning gouge in sort of a scraping mode. It's very easy to control it that way. You can't see it here, but I have the handle of the chisel up against my hip. Whenever possible, I like to anchor the chisel to my hip. Now I've turned the chisel over and I'm coming back the other direction. And again, I am turning from small diameter to large. I'm turning uphill here to minimize the tear out problem. And I'm getting a nice comfortable shaving. This bull is wet, and this is something that I cut down from the woods behind my house. I'm not sure what the wood was. It was dead, had been dead for a couple of years, probably standing dead. So I cut it down. Now you can see that it's got a flat spot on it here from when I cut it on the bandsaw. So I'm going to continue to turn it. If you watch me turn very much, you'll notice that I very often will stop the lathe and feel the shape of the bull. It gives me a very good sense if I'm getting a true curve, and maybe even more important than that, I think that a turn piece should not only look good, it should also feel good. It should appeal to the hands. Turn pieces, I think, are meant to be handled, and if something feels right in the hand, that feels balanced and proportioned, and the curves just feel right to you, very likely it's also going to look right. So you will see me do that a lot. So here I'm just continuing on working that rim. I like to get quite a bit of that rim off because it is an uneven edge there, and it has a little bit of a safety hazard. If I happen to touch that, I suppose I could get my fingers dinged. So I'll continue to work that down. Now you notice the face of the bull, if you can see beyond my hand there, is not flattened yet. It is attached with a faceplate with screws, and I will take care of that later. And that dark spot on there is just a natural part of the wood where it was really starting to decay. I think this piece of wood is into the decay stages, so I may not be able to save it, but it's pretty enough that I'm going to go ahead and try. So I just continue to work with my shaving cut. I'm looking at my shape. If you're looking for inspiration for shapes, by the way, if you go to a good quality China store, like a Wedgwood store, and look at the shapes that they use for their bulls, those shapes have been around for centuries, and there's a reason they've held up so well. The proportions are right. Now, I've switched the camera angle around so you can see it from the bottom. I've also moved the tool rest around. The universal tool rest that I'm using makes it very easy to change positions quickly and keep the support where I want it. I'm using basically that same pull cut with the bull gouge turned on edge, and as I do this, I'm beginning to see more problems with the wood. Unfortunately, it's tearing out sort of bad, but that's all right. It's worth trying it, and if nothing else, maybe we'll learn something new here today. You have basically two choices when it comes to the bottom of the bull as far as being able to reverse it. I'm going to reverse it and grab it with a universal 4-jaw chuck. You can either make an indentation and grab it from inside out, or you can make a tenon basically and grab it from outside in. I'm going to make a tenon on this one But if you are going to do that, you want to sort of keep in mind that you want to finish the bottom section, the tenon section here, before you go too much farther. And a lot of times I will put decorative rings on the bottom of the bowl. I'm doing this with a parting tool. I don't really expect very good results with this just because that wood is it's very loose grained, and as I said, I think it's getting into that decay stage. But we'll try it out and see. A parting tool is a wonderful tool. It's easy to control, and I'm just making a series of rings here. And I'm going to guess we're going to get a lot of tear out, but let's take a look and see what happens here. All right, let's have a look at it. Yeah, that's what I thought. The grain is not cooperating, the wood's not cooperating. On the other hand, if you look at the markings of the wood itself up in the bowl area, there's a lot of beautiful grain, and there's some just natural decay going on there, but it could add to the beauty of the bowl if things work out right. And sometimes that will make the nicest look at all. Let me try to clean this up a little bit with my, my bowl gouge again and see if I can make this a little bit better. Well, that's not working out very well. You can see the chips are, if anything, getting worse. I could turn the chisel over, do a shear cut on that, and get rid of a lot of that, but it's not going to hold up. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut away those marks and just make a very simple line on the bottom of this. And you'll see right here, the chisel's wanting to get a little frisky on me. It's wanting to move, and that's something that you can expect. However, no matter how many times I do it and no matter how much I expect it, it still startles me when it wants to jump out of my hand. I shouldn't say jump out of my hand, it just wants to move a little bit in the wrong direction. And that's just the normal centrifugal force going on there. So I am going to approach it from a different direction. I'm a big believer if one thing doesn't work, try something else. A different technique, a different chisel. This is how you learn. This is how you get better. You just experiment and use a little bit of common sense, but hey, you have to try it out. Here I am just going ahead and removing those lines just because I'm not happy with how they were working out, and I want to just make a nice clean tenon on the bottom here. I am making a curve, an indentation here, and you want to make sure that you give a little bit of curve to it anyway. That way the bowl will sit flat. If you try to make it flat across there, it's very easy to get it where the bowl will tip and rock. So let me clean this up here just a little bit more and see what happens from here. Okay, this is the turning with the indentation in the bottom. You can see it's still quite rough. Folks, I'm not too proud to sand. If I can't get the finish the way that I want it with my chisels, I have no problem at all picking up a piece of sandpaper if the bowl is worth trying to save. So I've got a piece of, actually this is a disc sander, piece of disc sander sandpaper that I folded in half, and it makes a great sanding device for these bowls because the thickness is such that you don't get burning transferred to your fingers. And the only thing I probably should have done here is maybe hooked up my dust collector to get rid of some of the dust, but it's really not bad because the wood is still damp enough, green enough that it's not producing a whole lot of sawdust. So I'm just going to continue to sand this to see what happens with it and see what kind of finish I can get out of it. I like this bowl. I like the shape of it. I like the proportions. I like the grain. I like even the flaws in it. So I'm going to continue to work with it. Folks, since I am not sure what this wood is, I am wearing a little dust mask. It's a good idea if you have allergies or you're not sure what you're working with. There are certain woods that will bother people a lot. And if you're not sure, be real careful. There are some woods that can be toxic or highly irritating to you. So again, take reasonable precautions, know yourself, know your product the best you can. But then sometimes you just have to, or at least I do, I just take a chance and move ahead. Yeah, that's pretty. I like that. One of my favorite little techniques that I've shared with folks over the years, sometimes when you get to about this stage, you want a little bit of encouragement. I'm just taking some mineral oil here. And when you put mineral oil, excuse me, not mineral oil, mineral spirits, let's make sure we understand that, mineral spirits on the wood, it will simulate what the wood is going to look like in the finished condition. And that will give me encouragement to keep going, but it just shows me what the possibility is in this piece of wood. Now, I don't know about you folks, but I think that's gorgeous. That's absolutely stunning. You got light wood and dark wood and just an awful lot of movement going on. You know, they talk about granite, if it has movement or not, and it's the same thing with wood. If you see a lot of direction and changes going on there, that's something that I really like a lot. Well, this is disappointing. I left the bowl on the lathe without finishing it, and as you can see, it just cracked. So this one will end up in the fireplace. But again, I sort of had fun with it, enjoyed it. I hope you folks learned something from it. Please contact me if I can help you.